Hello everybody, and this is Dr. Vishal Trivedi from Department of Biosciences and Bioenergy. So far what we have discussed is that how and what is the importance of digestive system in the role of maintaining the lifestyle or life cycle of a human being. So we are taking the food from the plant and then or from the different animals, and then we are processing this food into a very complicated and complex machinery known as alimentary canal. And so far what we have discussed is the different kind of structural and anatomical features of the main alimentary canal as well as the accessory alimentary canal, accessory glands associated with the alimentary canal. So now what we want to discuss is that how the process of digestion is taking place within the alimentary canal. So let us recap what we have discussed so far. So what we have discussed is that we have the food which is taken by the mouth and it goes from here to oesophagus, from oesophagus to stomach, then from stomach to small intestine, then the large intestine, and then finally it goes out as undigested product through the last part of the alimentary canal known as anus. So what we want to discuss is now the process of this complete digestion process, and the taking up the food through mouth is known as the process known as ingestion. Similarly, and then as soon as it enters into the mouth, then the digestion process starts, and within the mouth we have the buccal cavity. Okay. So digestion happens in the buccal cavity followed by the stomach. There is no digestion happens in the oesophagus, except that oesophagus is a tube like structure which actually passes through the processed food from the mouth into the stomach, and then the digestion happens in the stomach, and then small intestine and large intestine, and then finally the undigested food products are being removed through the last part of the alimentary canal, which is known as anus. So we are and within the food we have four major categories of the food material. We have the food material which basically contains carbohydrate. We have the food material which contains protein, and we have a food material which contains fat. So now what we are going to discuss in this lecture is that how these kind of food material or the food material, when they are present, how the digestion of each and every group is going to take place while it is passing through the alimentary canal, and how at the end how it is being absorbed into the body, and then it is used for producing the energy. So we will start with the carbohydrate. So I am sure you are going to discuss the biological or the biochemical properties of these biological molecules in a separate lectures, which is known as biomolecules, but I would like to briefly discuss so that it would be easy for you to understand the digestion process. So carbohydrate means the molecules which contains such as glucose, okay, and the glucose which actually being polymerized to form the polymeric carbohydrate or the polysaccharide. So glucose is known as monosaccharides, whereas the polymerized carbohydrate is known as polysaccharide. This polysaccharide, because the glucose can be processed in different types of polysaccharides, So, it could be glycogen in the case of animals. Mostly animals are polymerizing the glucose in the form of glycogen, or it could be in the form of starch, which is actually mostly being done in during the metabolism in the plant. Okay. So, what if you take the food product, you are going to take up the glycogen or the starch as the material which is present in the any kind of dishes. Like so far what we are discussing is about the food like pizza as an example. So, pizza will contain the glycogen as well as the starch as a material, and these are the two material which are going to be digested. So, once you take up the any food material which contains the carbohydrate, then and how this polymerization is happening. So, if I show you the structure of a simple glucose, the simple glucose structure is like this. Okay. So, this is OH, this is OH, this is OH, and this is OH. Okay. So, this is carbon number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and number 6. Okay. And this is a single one molecule of glucose, and it can polymerize with the another molecule of glucose. Similar kind of groups present CH2OH, and then you have OH here, you have H here, you have OH here, you have OH here, you have OH here. Okay. So, polymerization means the combining of the two molecules. So, what happen is these two molecules will combine and a molecule of water will be removed, and as a result you are going to get two molecules of glucose being combined together. Okay. And this is known as maltose. Okay. Where and this linkage is known as alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage. Okay. Similarly, as you see the structure of glucose, you can have the polymerization either by side through alpha 1,4 linkage, or you can have the polymerization through alpha 1,6 linkage, and this kind of linkages actually makes the polymeric starch or polymeric carbohydrate very complex to digest. So, this means if you have to do a digestion, you are actually have to break this bond, this alpha 1,4 glycosidic linkage or the alpha 1,6 glycosidic linkage, so that ultimately what you are going to get, you are going to get the monomeric glucose. So, let us see how this is going to happen in the complete alimentary canal. So, you are taking a food through mouth, and that process is called as ingestion. Just following ingestion, okay, that is the first process for the carbohydrate. Number 2, as soon as you ingest a food material, it goes and it mixed with saliva, and then saliva is bringing this food particle into your teeth, and that teeth is actually as we discussed in the previous lecture, that there are 4 different types of teeth. So, they actually are going to crush this food material, they are also going to divide into multiple pieces, and as a result this food material is going to become a slurry like structure. Okay. And then this slurry is going to be roll over and form a ball like structure, and that is called as bolus. So, and this complete process of converting a food material into a smaller particles as well as this bolus is known as mastication. So, once you have done the ingestion, then you are going to do the mastication, and that mastication is going to convert the food into a bolus like structure. And why the mastication is important, and I think we discussed this in the previous lecture as well, that it actually increases the surface area of a molecule. So, as you know, as you break a molecule into two, you are actually increasing the number of surfaces which are being going to be exposed. So, as a result, if you are taking a pizza, you are taking into the multiple pieces, a pizza is going to be having a smaller surface area, but those smaller molecules are going to be having a more number of exposed surfaces. Then followed by mastication and following the formation of bolus, where and it actually going to have the action of the first cavity present in the alimentary canal, and that is called as buccal cavity. So, within the buccal cavity, we have discussed in the past that buccal cavity contains only one enzyme, and that is called as ptyalin or the alpha amylase or salivary amylase. So, in the buccal cavity, it going to secrete the salivary amylase, or the other name of the same enzyme is called as ptyalin. Okay. So, what happens? So, as we discussed, we are going to take up the food, and that food could be from the plant origin, or that food could be from the animal origin. If it is from the food origin, it is going to have a maximally the starch. If it is from the animal origin, it is going to be a glycogen. So, you are going to have the glycogen or the starch, and as I said, it is actually an enzymatic process, and since the polymerization process is losing the water, here you have to add the water. So, once you add the water, okay, and then you take the enzyme, and enzyme is ptyalin or salivary amylase. Maltose is actually a disaccharide, and then this maltose is going to be processed further. So, after that, the digested food material is getting into the oesophagus, and through oesophagus it is getting into the stomach. In the oesophagus, there is nothing what happened except that oesophagus cell walls actually secretes some amount of mucus, and that actually helps in swallowing the food particles. And then the carbohydrate reaches into the stomach, and within the stomach there is no significant digestion take place, except that the some of the carbohydrate which is being digested in the mouth is being absorbed. So, from the stomach it is getting into the small intestine. So, following by the buccal cavity, there is no digestion in the stomach, or there is no significant digestion in the stomach. Then after this, you are going to go to the small intestine, and within the small intestine, you have three process. Okay. So, in the small intestine, you know, we have three parts. Through the pyloric wall of the stomach, it enters into the small intestine, that is the duodenum. So, in the duodenum, it actually secretes the another class of amylase, and that is called as pancreatic amylase, and that pancreatic amylase is actually digesting further the remaining glycogen, starch or the other sugars present in the food, as well as so in the duodenum what is happening is that this glycogen or starch or dextrin is getting converted with the help of the enzyme known as amylase into the products known as Okay. So, we started with the very complex food, that is the polysaccharides and these are actually the either the shorter chain of polysaccharides or the different variation of the disaccharides. Now, from the duodenum, the food will enter into the other part and that is called as jejunum. So, once it enters into the jejunum, it is going to get the action of other digestive enzymes. So, in the jejunum, so now you can see what we have to digest. We have the limited dextrin, we have the maltose and then we have the isomaltose. So, the jejunum is secreting the gastric juices and that those gastric juices are actually contains the different types of enzymes to convert these into the corresponding monosaccharides. So, the limited dextrin is getting converted into the so again you have to add the water, okay, and then you have to add an enzyme known as limit dextrinase and that actually will convert this into glucose and this is the monosaccharide. Now, for the maltose, so this is for limited dextran, this is for maltose. Again, you are going to add the water and you are going to have the enzyme known as maltase and that will convert this into glucose. Again, it is a monosaccharide. Then third, you have the isomaltose again plus water maltase and that also is converting that into glucose which is also a monosaccharide. Now, we will move on to the next food material and that is called the proteins. So, as we started for the carbohydrate, we will again start the same way for the protein. So, in the case of protein, so that is the protein and I think we discussed in the past that protein is made up of amino acids and I am sure you will discuss or you will going to know each and every detail about the protein, how the amino acids and what are different types of amino acids. But since we are discussing about the digestion, I would like to briefly tell you that what is protein, how the protein is formed and also on. Okay. So, there are 20 different types of amino acids which are making the protein in a human being and these amino acids have a generalized structures where they have a carbon which is attached to a R group on one side and the carboxyl group on other side and the amino group on the other side. Okay. So, this is the generalized structure of a amino acid, and what happen is, so imagine that this is the amino acid number 1, then it actually get combined with the other amino acids. So, similar to the carbohydrate, it is going to lose a molecule of water, and as a result you are going to have the okay. This means you are going to have the positive amino charge on one terminus and the negatively charged or the carboxyl group on the other side, and in between you are going to have the different types of amino acids which are going to be connected, and this connection is by a bond, and that is known as the peptide bond. So, if you want to digest the protein, you have to break this peptide bond, and this you need, and you have to have an enzyme for that. So, let us see how the digestion of the protein take place in different parts of the alimentary canal. So, starting from the buccal cavity, so there is no digestion of protein in the buccal cavity. After the buccal cavity, it enters into the oesophagus. We already discussed many times that there is no digestion in the buccal, in the oesophagus, and then it enters into the stomach. Okay. And stomach actually has many types of gastric enzymes or the juices which are required, which are actually acting on the proteins. So, in the stomach what happen is, they have two proenzymes. So, pepsinogen. So, the first step in the stomach is, as soon as the food enter into the stomach, that induces the gastric glands and the other kind of the cells present in the gastric cell wall to secrete the acid, and in the presence of acid, these two enzymes are getting activated to their active enzyme. So, in the presence of acid, pepsinogen and by the autocleavage of the enzyme itself, the pepsinogen is getting converted into pepsin. Similarly, the is getting converted into renin. Okay. Renin is the enzyme which actually works on the milk protein known as the casein. So, it work on the milk protein known as casein and convert that into the para-casein, and that para-casein, so casein is getting converted into the para-casein in the presence of enzyme known as renin, and that para-casein is making a complex with calcium to form the para-casein, forming a complex known as calcium para-caseinate. This calcium para-caseinate is actually converting the milk into the curd, and this process is known as the curdling or the. So, that actually helps to break the milk into small cube like structure, and those cubes are known as curd, and so that the proper action of the other enzyme take place. So, the pepsin is actually the active enzyme which is present in the stomach to catalyze the breakdown of protein into the amino acids. So, you have the protein plus water, and in the presence of pepsin it is getting converted into not amino acid, but the small fragments known as peptones. Similarly, the calcium para-caseinate plus water is getting converted into the peptones, and the calcium is released. This calcium can be absorbed and will give the nutrition to form the bones. So, so far what we have discussed is that the within the stomach the protein is being digested to peptones with the help of pepsin, as well as the calcium para-caseinate, which is also being formed from the milk, is being converted into the peptone and the calcium, and calcium is being used for the nutrition as well. So, now these products from the stomach will enter into the small intestine. So, in the small intestine, has three parts, and the duodenum actually secretes, duodenum actually receives the pancreatic juices, and that pancreatic juices contains 3 active enzymes as well as 3 inactive enzymes. So, what are these 3 inactive enzymes? So, pancreatic juice contains the trypsinogen that get converted into trypsin in the presence of enterokinase, and the auto activation of trypsin. Then they have chymotrypsin or thymotrypsinogen that get converted into chymotrypsin, okay, in the presence of the trypsin, and they also have the pro-carboxypeptidase, and that get converted into carboxypeptidase. Okay. So, now these 3 active enzymes, the trypsin, the chymotrypsin and the carboxypeptidase, are going to act on the proteins as well as the peptones which are being which they are receiving from the stomach through the pyloric sphincters. So, what we have in the small intestine is protein or the peptones, and in this will be digested by the trypsin to form the dipeptides, peptones and smaller peptides. Whereas similar to the stomach, you have the casein, and that get converted you also have the casein that get converted into the paracasein, okay, with the help of the enzyme known as chymotrypsin, and then this paracasein is making a complex similar to what we have discussed for the stomach into calcium paracaseinate, and the calcium paracaseinate is getting the trypsin, and that is converting it into the peptones plus calcium. Apart from this, we also have the we also are receiving the few of the specialized proteins through either from the animal or as well as from the plant, and one of such protein is also called as elastin. So, elastin is also being digested in the small intestine to the peptides. Apart from that, we have third enzyme that is called as carboxypeptidase. So, you know that the protein has two sides, one is N-terminal side, then you have the amino acids, and then you have the carboxyl side. So, the carboxypeptidase actually works from this side and chews the protein from this side. So, carboxypeptidase then works on these larger peptides and generates the smaller peptide as well as the amino acids. So, then large peptides, they are getting converted by carboxypeptidase in the presence of water to smaller peptides. Dipeptide, and since it is chewing the protein from one end, sometime it also releases the free amino acids. Okay, so from the duodenum, what we have is the dipeptides, we have small peptides, we have peptones, then we have so these are the things which will enter into the duodenum, and in the duodenum they are going to be degraded further to complete the digestion of the protein. So, in the duodenum, all these peptides, so you are going to have the peptones, you are going to have the small peptides. Okay. So, in the jejunum they have the enzyme which is known as aminopeptidase. So, just like carboxypeptidase which works from the carboxyl side, aminopeptidase actually works from the amino side, means the N-terminus side. So, it actually chews the protein from this side. So, that actually works on these proteins and releases the or degrades it further to form the oligopeptides and amino acids. So, you are going to have oligopeptides, amino acids, dipeptides. So, then dipeptides are going to be chewed up by the enzyme known as dipeptidase to the amino acids. Okay. So, with this the digestion of protein in the alimentary canal will be over. So, we started with a very complex protein and then ultimately we are going to end up with the amino acids, because these oligopeptides will also come here and they will also being digested by the dipeptidase to finally release the amino acids, and these amino acids will be monomeric units and they will be absorbed through the small intestine, which we are going to discuss later on. So, let us come to the third component, and that is called the fat. So, as we have discussed for the carbohydrate, similarly we discussed for the protein, we are going to briefly discuss about the structure of fat, so that it will be easier for you to follow the digestion process. So, fat is actually, or the triglyceride is actually this is the structure of a triglyceride. Okay. So, this is the structure of a triglycerides, or in common term it is also known as fat. So, what you see in this structure, that you have two components, one is this, okay, and the other component is this, okay, and this component is known as glycerol. So, if you replace this this part and you put the OH, it is going to be glycerol. Similarly, this component is known as the fatty acid. The individual chain is known as fatty acid, because it contains the acid group and then the alkyl chain, okay, and this acid which actually contains the OH. So, this OH and H is combining and forming the water. So, a water is released, and that is how the condensation takes place between the fatty acid and the glycerol to form the triglycerides. So, similar to what we have discussed for the carbohydrate and protein, if you want to digest this particular complex molecule, you have to break this bond, okay, so that you can get the individual fatty acids and the individual glycerol, and these individual fatty acid molecule can be absorbed and can be used. Okay. So, so, starting from the buccal cavity, so there is no digestion of fat in buccal cavity. If you remember, we had discussed this for the carbohydrate, that carbohydrate there is an enzyme called amylase, and that is actually only digesting the carbohydrate in the buccal cavity. Then it comes to stomach. So, stomach actually contains the gastric lipase, okay, and that gastric lipase works on the fat. So, it converts the fat into the fatty acid and the glycerol. Okay. And then from the stomach, then it goes into the small intestine. So, a small intestine, you have two components, one is duodenum, the other one is the jejunum, where the mostly the digestion take place for the fat. So, in the duodenum, so duodenum is actually receiving the bile salts from the liver and bile salt from the gallbladder, and these bile salts contain these bile salts, this bile contains the bile salt, and that bile salt which actually is important for the fat digestion. So, there are two bile salt, one is called sodium taurocholate. Okay. So, bile actually contains these two salts, one is called sodium glycocholate and the other one is called as sodium taurocholate, and these two the purpose of these two salt is that they actually converts the fat into the small fat droplets. So, what they do is they actually works on the fat, and then this fat gets converted into the small droplets. What is the advantage of converting a big fat into the small droplets? And is that it actually increases the surface area of individual fat molecules, and that actually increases the action of lipases. And this purpose or this process of converting a big fat molecule into the small droplets is called as emulsification. So, once the fat enter into the small intestine or the duodenum part, it actually receives the bile from the gallbladder, and that bile actually contains sodium glycocholate and sodium taurocholate as a bile salt, and these bile salts actually works on the fat and converts them into the small droplets. Bile actually also contains other kind of different types of salts as well, such as bicarbonate salt or the sodium and potassium, and these bicarbonate or the sodium and potassium salts are actually required to neutralize the acid which is coming from the stomach. Now, it will enter into the other part of the alimentary canal known as jejunum. So, once the fat is getting converted into the fat droplets, the pancreatic lipase, which is also being secreted into the duodenum, is going to act on these small droplets, and it will digest the fat. So, then the fat is going to be digested by the pancreatic lipase, and that will convert the fat into the three components. One is it will convert that into the diglycerides, and then it will convert into the monoglycerides, then it will convert into the fatty acid, and then it will convert into the glycerol. So, diglycerides, and So, now this digested product will enter into the jejunum, and within the jejunum you have other set of digestive enzymes to help the digestion of fat. So, what you have? So, you have these are the intestinal lipase, and they will convert that into triglycerides, monoglycerides, and fatty acid plus fatty acid as well as the glycerol. Okay. So, now these components which are being produced by the intestinal lipase or by the pancreatic lipase will be processed by the further processed by the lipase. So, diglycerides will be processed by the intestinal lipase to monoglycerides, and then the monoglycerides is going to be converted into fatty acids plus glycerol. So, what you can see in the case of fat digestion, it is going to be get converted finally into the fatty acid and glycerol by the action of 3 different types of lipases which are present in the stomach, and then which are present in the duodenum as well as in the jejunum part. And finally, what you are going to have the fatty acid and glycerol, and this fatty acid and glycerol will be absorbed for the energy production. So, apart from fat, protein and carbohydrate, when we take up the food from the animal origin or the plant origin, many times we actually eat up the whole cell, and when we eat up the whole cell, we also take up the cellular contents, and in the cellular content what you take is actually the nucleus as well as the biomolecule which is present inside the nucleus. So, one of the biomolecule which is present within the nucleus as well as the cytosol is known as DNA or the RNA. So, in a minor fraction you are also going to get the DNA as well as the RNA as the biomolecule to be digested. So, alimentary canal is competent enough to process these 2 biomolecule as well. So, DNA or the RNA both are made up of a monomeric unit, and that is known as the nucleotides. And these nucleotides, there are 4 different types of nucleotides which are present in DNA, and there are 4 different types of nucleotides which are present in RNA, and these nucleotides are actually being present and is made up of nucleosides, and these nucleosides are made up of nitrogenous bases and the sugar. So, if you want a machinery to process this DNA and RNA, what you have to have a machinery so that it break downs the DNA to produce the nucleotides, and then it needs a machinery to break down the nucleotides into the nucleosides, and then finally into the nucleosides to nitrogenous bases and sugar. So, that we will going to, so that so once you take up any such food product, it enters into the alimentary canal. So, there is no digestion in the buccal cavity for the nucleic acids. There is no digestion in the stomach, okay, and then it enters into the small intestine. So, a small intestine, in the small intestine, the DNA is being processed, DNA or the RNA is being processed by their by their set of enzymes known as DNase and RNase. So, DNA is getting converted by an enzyme called DNase, and that actually convert that into nucleotides. Similarly, the RNA is getting converted into by an enzyme known as RNase into the corresponding nucleotides. Okay. Then these nucleotides are further being digested. So, nucleotides in the presence of water, the enzyme is nucleotidase. And that will convert the nucleotide into nucleosides. Okay. And these nucleosides, as we discussed, is a complex of pentose sugar and the bases is going to be further degraded by the enzyme known as nucleosidase in the presence of water, and ultimately what you are going to get is nitrogenous bases, and you are going to get the pentose sugar. And these are actually these two, like pentose bases as well as the nitrogenous bases as well as the pentose sugar is the monomeric unit, and they will be absorbed into the body for further utilization. So, these nitrogenous bases as well as the pentose sugar can directly take up by the last part of the alimentary canal, and they will be used for the DNA or the RNA synthesis in the human body. So, let us summarize what we have discussed so far. As you can see in the given PowerPoint slide. So, now if I summarize the complete digestion process, what you can see on the PowerPoint, that we have the complete digestion process, and it I have split that into as per the food product or the food material. So, we will start in the so what we have discussed for the carbohydrate, that you started with the starch, glycogen, or which are actually the polysaccharides. When they enter into the buccal cavity, they get converted into the maltose, and then the maltose does not get any further digestion, and it enters into the stomach like that, and then from the stomach it enters into the small intestine, where the different types of intestinal enzymes works on these carbohydrates to first convert them into the limit dextran, maltose and isomaltose, and then you have the further enzymes which works on these molecules, and then finally the polysaccharides, starch and glycogen get converted into the glucose. Similarly, for the fat, which is actually a complex of the fatty acid and glycerol, it enters into the buccal cavity. There is no digestion of fat into the buccal cavity, and then it enters into the stomach, where the gastric lipase works on these fats to convert them into the fatty acid and glycerol. The remaining fat enters into the small intestine. Initially, it get converted into the diglycerides, monoglycerides, fatty acid and glycerol, and then the intestinal lipase works on these diglycerides and monoglycerides, and then finally, the fat is getting converted into the fatty acid and glycerol. Similarly, for the protein, there is no digestion of protein into the buccal cavity, and then it enters into the stomach, where with the action of pepsin as well as the renin, it get converted into the peptones, and then these peptones enter into the small intestine, where they get converted into the large peptide or the small peptides by the action of trypsin as well as the chymotrypsin, and then and as well as the carboxypeptidase, and then it enters into the jejunum part, and then in the jejunum it get further digested by the aminopeptidase and the other enzymes, and then it finally get converted into the amino acids. Similarly, apart from these three basic fundamental biomolecules, when you are taking a food product which is actually coming from the biological source, you are also going to take up the very minor quantities of the nucleic acids, which is actually coming from the nucleus of the cell which you are eating along with the food. For example, if you are taking a meat, you are actually eating a mass of tissue, and that mass of tissue actually contains the cells, and that cells contains the nucleic acids. So, along with these basic molecule, you are also going to have the DNA and RNA into your food as well. So, this DNA and RNA, there is no digestion of DNA and RNA in the buccal cavity, there is no digestion of DNA and RNA in the stomach, but when it enters into the small intestine, it get converted into the nucleotides with the action of DNAs and RNAs, and then this nucleotides get further action of nucleosidases as well as the other enzymes, and then finally it get converted into the nitrogenous bases and the pentose. And you know that the DNA is made up of 4 different bases and sugar. So, this nitrogenous bases as well as the sugar get absorbed into the body, and now in the subsequent lecture we are going to discuss about the absorption of these food particles from the small intestine, as well as the different types of diseases which are appearing into the due to the abnormality of the alimentary canal, as well as the abnormality in terms of receiving the nutritional defects. Thank you.